Welcome to the SubHub podcast. I'm EmKay Sullivan, and since this is the OCC preview and Danny Moreno is running OCC, she will not be joining me today, but instead I will have Toni McCann joining me. Toni McCann, for those of you who don't know, was on the pod about a year ago at this point because she won OCC last year in dominant fashion. Toni is from South Africa, but is currently living in Annecy-ish, France. She was recently first at the Broken Arrow Sky Race while she was out here in the US pacing fellow teammate Ingvild Kaspersen. And we'll call it a course record. That course changes every year, so who knows, but she ran super fast. So either way, great race. And welcome, Toni McCann.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be back. Yeah, it's always good to catch up with you guys. Well, you, not the...
Yes, I know. Danny's not here, but well, every once in a while we'll pretend like she is. But yeah, no, this was like hands down one of our longest episodes last year because we had Toni on the pod and we eventually had to shut it down because we just kept talking and talking and talking.
I think I tend to ramble sometimes, so feel free to cut me off at any point.
Oh, no. It's great. We love it. It's good to have podcast guests that like give answers like you do, just because then we ask less questions, which I think is way less boring. When we have to ask a lot of questions, it's like, it's good if you can talk more.
Yeah, better if there's conversation flow.
So, I mean, it's been a year. I've seen you many times in the last year, but how have you been?
Yeah, good. There's been a little bit of a recent announcement that I've stepped up in distance, so I'm not racing OCC this year, which is why I'm here helping you with the OCC preview. So I think we're both actually training for CCC at the moment, which is scary and exciting and really exhausting at the same time. But yeah, otherwise all good. Recently moved to Annecy, like you said. Loving it here. The mountains are so beautiful. It's like Shan, but way more wild, which I'm really loving. Like the trails are more technical, which reminds me a little bit more of Cape Town. And yeah, I've got like 4 VKs out my door, which is kind of rough when you just want an easy flat run, but really great for training for a really mountainous 100K.
Yeah, I have been to Annecy once, and unfortunately it was after Mont Blanc Marathon in 2022, and I was so wrecked from that race that Tommy and I like didn't do anything in Annecy. We like just hung out in our Airbnb because I was like, I can't even walk, my quads hurt so bad. That was like my first mountain race, and I think we ended up going home early actually because we were like, we're not even doing anything here. We're just like, but I mean, I've seen pictures of the trails and it does look more like almost jungly there.
There's a lot more forest for sure. And there's a lot more like indigenous forests here, which are really beautiful to run in, but it also makes it so humid. Like I'll come back from my run and Bastian will be like, did you go swim in the lake? I'm like, no, this is
like I should have.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of beautiful forests here, and then kind of you pop out above them, and we've got like beautiful plateaus that you can run on once you're up top. But you got to run 1,000 vertical meters before you get to the beautiful flat running.
Super casual.
Yeah, no, but you'll have to come back to Annecy because it's so beautiful here. Like the old town is amazing, and my family's actually just been here to visit, and we did so many fun things. So yeah, next time you come, you're welcome to come and visit me. We'll have you for dinner and show you the good stuff.
Yes, I'll have to come before a race instead of after a race so that I can actually run. But how's training for CCC going? This is going to be your first 100K, so
yeah. Yeah, I'm exhausted all the time. Pretty much all I've been capable of doing at the moment is like running, sleeping, and eating. So I feel like a bit of a useless human being, and I'm not sure if it ever gets easier. But overall, I'm happy. Like my body's holding up, and I think that's always the best like outcome. You're increasing volume and you're doing all of these vertical kilometers. Like it's hard work, and it's a lot of it's really taxing on your body. So I'm mostly just happy that I'm feeling good still at this point. And yeah, I guess I've really enjoyed training for 100K. Like the time on the trails is obviously a bit more, but it's just really nice actually. Like I think that's what drew me to this. I was like, I actually just want to have really long days in the mountains, and that sounds really nice. So yeah, it's been good. I don't know, how have you found it?
I mean, I'm same thing. I really enjoy, part of the reason that I decided to switch to CCC from OCC is like, I was like, I really enjoyed just long days in the trails, like for canyons training. And obviously it's summer and like the mountains are open. So why not take advantage of that and have long days in the mountains? I mean, you still get that kind of when you're training for OCC, but like it has to be way more intense. Like you have a lot more workouts. Whereas like for 100K training, like a lot of what you're doing is just like zone 2 stuff for hours and hours and hours. And so like we're recording this a little bit early, but yesterday I did 55K from my front door, and it was so cool to just like go do that adventure and like hit a couple local peaks and then run all the way back to my house. And I was like, if I was training for OCC, I would never have been able to do that. So I've really enjoyed it, but I'm glad that the Olympics are on right now because I don't watch much TV. And so it's been really nice. Like I'll run for a couple hours and then I'll come back, I'll put the boots on, have a plate of food on top of my boots, watch the Olympics for like 3 hours. And then I'm like, all right, it's basically dinner time. It's time to go to bed.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I'm most impressed about that is that you can balance food on your reboots. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
cannot do that. Like my laptop doesn't fit, my food doesn't fit. I have to have like plates surrounding me.
I have like pillows, and so then the pillows just they move up and they move down, but then I have like at least some space. The hardest part is keeping the dogs away from me because I'm on the ground, like doing the boots, and they're like, "Oh, food? You're on the ground? Let's play. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Leave me alone."
Let me recover.
Yeah. And
Oh,
they're struggling because they can't run as like my long days. And so they're only getting to run like every other or every 3 days. And Murphy, my German short hair, he might kill me soon.
woman, why are you not running me anymore? Rude.
Yeah. I'm like, you could probably do like 20 to 25, but I don't know, man, you can't do this every day. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
That's
worried that I'm gonna hurt you.
for your own good.
Yeah. But yeah, so Toni and I are both racing CCC. I'm sure many of you know this by now, but yeah, I'm excited to get out there and use my poles and get really sore in my arms, my little noodle arms.
Yep. That's the one thing that this training has taught me is that I really have zero upper body strength and no endurance whatsoever. So the pole usage is going to have to be real tactical for me.
Yeah, I've been using my poles on things that I don't even need to use poles on because I'm like, gotta work my arms, gotta get these arms going. Like, but
Yeah, recovery runs 30 minutes. Poles
yeah,
are out.
flat recovery run, use those poles. People are in my neighborhood are like, what is that woman doing?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, already the people in my neighborhood think I'm crazy. So add
Yeah,
some, yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
So should we dive into OCC?
yes, let's do it.
All right. So OCC Thursday, August 29th, starts in Orcier. Is that how you say it?
OCS, OCS,
Orciers.
yeah, OCS.
At 8:15 in the morning. It is 34.1 miles, 55K-ish with 11,000 feet of gain. The max allowed race time is 14 hours and 30 minutes, but most of the people that we are talking about today will take much less time than that. Toni, you have run this race twice, 3 times?
3 times.
3 times. So you have run the course that they are going to run this year because it changed a little bit last year. They took out a section of the course because of some rockfall, I believe. And so they're going back to the course from 2022. So could you speak to the course a little bit? Because I have only ever run from Orcières to the pink or I don't even
Yeah.
know, the high point.
But
No,
did you?
I went to the high point. I didn't run, but I did make it there.
So you got
Um,
to Bovine and then you dropped down to the little pink church in
yeah,
Trier.
yeah. And then I went up to the
Farm?
hut.
You went up to Col de
Oh,
Balm.
Col de Balm. Yeah, I went up to Col de Balm, but that fully missed the part of the course that they took out and put back in this year. So run us through the course.
Yeah, so pretty much every single year that I ran this course, the route changed, which is great for comparisons for me. But the 2022 course, so the course that they are running this year, is a route that I think has a bigger range of skills that are needed. So the beginning bit is the same up until Triant. You do Osiers, then you go up to Champay-Lac. It's like a pretty steep little climb up to Champay-Lac. It's I don't know, maybe 7Ks. And then you've got kind of like a flat rolling, a little bit downhill section before you start the big climb up to Bovine. Once you hit Bovine, you kind of drop down into Triant, and it's a really long. It starts a little bit technical, but then it opens up, and it's a really flowy, I think, descent down into Triant. And from that point, that's kind of where the race splits. So last year we had a much more direct route up to Col de Balm, which was steep but runnable and really shit. It was so hard. And you kind of connected up onto this contour that took you to Col de Balm, which was where there was a water point and where you unfortunately had to pull the plug. This year, however, they are going back to 2022. And from Triant, you've got like a really rolling kind of douche grade hill up until you get to some really gnarly single track, actually, that takes you up to a little refuge. And from that refuge, you join that contour path that we had kind of intercepted on our climb up. And that contour path, I think, is kind of a really important part of this race. It's pretty technical, and it's really hard to get any sort of momentum and rhythm on that section because you've done this really steep climb, and then all of a sudden you're faced with like a really beautiful contour path, which you think you should be able to run, but it's a net uphill and it's really technical, and the footing is a little bit strange. So like it's really hard to get a momentum, and it's also, you know, you're going to be passing through that point probably around midday. So it's also a really exposed part of the race. So if it's a hot day, yeah, people just need to make sure to like fill up with water in Triant, stop at rivers, wet your hair, because I think that point is kind of a pivotal moment in the race for me. And then you kind of join back onto the same course that we did. So you get to Col de Balm, you kind of do like a really beautiful section towards the Gil de Poisette, and then you drop down into Le Tour. And from there, it's the same. So Le Tour, Mondroc, Argentière, the horrible technical climb up to Fleuget, which feels never ending at that point in the race. And then, from Fleuget, you've got a really fun descent all the way back down to Cham. So the race for me this year is a more challenging year. I think it takes probably around 20 to 30 minutes longer than the route that we ran, just because of that technical section, and that climb up to it is not as easy as the one we got faced with. It also adds a couple kilometers, I think, to the race, maybe 2 or 3. So yeah, I think it's a really fun race. I think 2022, as much as it maybe wasn't my best result year, was the year that I enjoyed the course the most, because it provided the most diversity in the type of trail that you were faced with. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, sorry, keep going.
No, that's it.
I remember last year I told you and Danny that the course had changed because you guys still thought that it had gone the other way. And like Danny was so disappointed because she was like, that was my favorite part of the course. It's so beautiful. Like, it's hard, but it's so beautiful. And so she's also super stoked to have that back into the rotation there. But kind of like you were saying, like it does seem like that course is slower because in 2022, Sheila Vila ran 6:10 on that course. And you ran 5:18:21 last year. Still crazy fast time. I do think that 6:10 is definitely going down this year. So to your point, I do think it'll be like 20 to 30 minutes, because before they changed the course last year, I remember telling my coach, like, oh, this course is gonna, like, to win this, it's gonna take 5:50. Like, it's definitely not gonna be, it's gonna be sub 6, and it's probably gonna be sub 6 by quite a bit. And I just took that from like the World's course. I think Clementine ran 4:50 or something like that. And it felt like it was going to be just based on the additional distance, like about an hour difference. And so, yeah, I think that similar thought, and maybe will be proved wrong, but I think it's going to take about 550 to win this course this year.
I definitely think that it's because even before we thought the course had changed, or before we knew the course had changed last year, Danny and I had spoken and said that whoever wins it is going to run a sub-6 for sure.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely we're looking at top 3, top 5, sub-6. I would put it past this group of women. Like it's the level is so high.
I know.
It's going to drop huge.
Oh my gosh. This course is, or this race the last like 3-4 years has like been pretty deep, but this year is like we were talking before we started recording, it's gonna be hard to like pick a podium, pick a top 10. Like good luck with your Freetrail Fantasy. There are so many good women in this race.
Yeah, it's wild. It's really wild.
Hey all, Danny here, professional trail runner and co-host of the SubHub podcast. Last year, after getting sick before a big race, I started looking into natural ways to boost my immune system. So I embarked on a little research journey, trying out a few different options. And you know what? I found myself reaching for one set of products again and again. And that was Beekeepers Naturals. And guess what? They are now a partner of the pod. Founded with a mission to reinvent the medicine cabinet, Beekeepers Naturals offers an array of immune-boosting products free from harmful chemicals and artificial ingredients. So if you're looking for a natural option to boost your immune system, consider trying Beekeepers Naturals products. And be sure to use the code SUBHUB20 for 20% off of all of your orders at beekeepersnaturals.com. We've partnered with Poseidon Bicycles in Southern California. Their bikes are locally designed, tested, and come with a lifetime warranty, as well as free shipping in the 48 states. Poseidon operates consumer direct, ensuring top quality at affordable prices. Check out their amazing deals and rave reviews online. Personally, I love the versatile drop bar Redwood. It's perfect for road and gravel, and with impeccable matte green style, I love riding this bike wherever I want to go. As a special offer, SubHub listeners get $150 off. Use SubHub at PoseidonBike.com and get $150 off any and all of your purchases. And as a reminder, before you return back to our episode with EmKay and Toni McCann previewing the women's OCC race list, we want to remind you that we have our giveaway with Poseidon Bike. And this is a collaboration giveaway between the SubHub Pod and Poseidon Bike. We are giving away not one, but 2 bicycles. And what's really cool is you get to choose whatever bike you want from their website. So if you want to join and participate and, hopefully rub on that lucky horseshoe and hopefully win a bike or 2, be sure to enter by going to our post on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is _subhub_pod, and you'll see the posts, and all you have to do is like the post, follow both accounts, again, _subhub_pod and Poseidon Bike, which is all one word together, and tag a friend in the comments. And you can also earn a bonus entry by sharing the post in your stories, but in order to get those bonus entries, you do have to tag both of us in your story so we can see it. So yeah, enter now. The winner will be selected and announced on August 26th in our men's OCC preview episode, but the giveaway ends on August 23rd. So be sure to enter in the next few days.
I think this year as well, I don't know, just in general with like trail running, people are becoming more brave and more bold with their moves. I remember the year in 2022 when Shayla won, Ali Mack had gone out so hard that year and everyone was like, she's crazy, she's never going to hold this. And then last year, Ali still went out really hard, but actually we ran like the group of girls that I was with, and I think you were with me at that time. Like we ran Ali's times that she had ran the year before. Like we were
easily.
Yeah, so like our pace was up there. And the year before we were all like, well, she's crazy to go out that hard. So I think, everyone's just becoming a bit more bold with their moves, and yeah, at the end of the day, they're fit enough to sustain that. And
Yeah.
it's
Up to
scary.
Champé Lac, I think I was within the top 10, but I had started to lose contact with you guys, and I was 2 minutes ahead of Danny's time from 2022. Like I was like, oh my God, we are hammering it. But like, yeah, like you said, everybody was just like, oh, like Allie didn't die that much, you know? So like maybe we could do that.
Yeah, totally. It's pretty cool to see the progression in the sport and how rapidly that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about this all the time with my husband and with Danny. Like, it's the same thing on the track with the women's mile and 1500 right now. Like, all it takes is one or two women to like break these huge barriers. And then all of a sudden you see like 20 other women do it in the same year. And it's like, oh, we just need an example. Like, we just need somebody else to do it first. And then we're like, damn,
Sweet.
we're good.
You can do that too.
Yeah. So trail running, I mean, the men's side is also elevating, but like women's trail running is definitely on the rise right now. We saw that at Western States. We'll see that here. We'll probably see it at Sears and All this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, that's a whole nother topic. My goodness.
I know. I'm a little bummed that we're recording this before Sears and All, just because I'd love to see how Utah's Wider is going to do there before we talk about her here. But like, she's so consistent. It's not even that much of a worry, I don't think.
Well, we'll see. I think it's going to be, again, the field there is just so deep that anything can happen.
Truly. All right. Should we go through these women?
Let's do it.
We tried to narrow it down a little bit based off of the UTMB website and their elite list. And as always, we're probably missing someone. So don't, hate us. We are using the information that we have, which is what's on the UTMB website. Obviously, these indexes are not the end all be all, but it's what we have. So we're working with what we got. Let's start. The bottom is the worst way to say that. Let's start from the bottom and go to the top in terms of this ranking list. Let's start with Claire Rhodes. Athlete from Anchorage, Alaska, runs for the North Face. Unfortunately, just moved away from Reno. She was living here for 2 years, which was such a dream for me. But Claire was recently second at the Broken Arrow 46K behind Toni McCann. She won Mount Marathon this year in the fourth fastest time ever on that course. This is her first OCC. This is only her second time racing overseas, her first being the World Championships last year, where she finished fourth for the US team. And she qualified for OCC with a second place at the Puerto Vallarta 50K last year.
Insane. I was so impressed with Claire. Like at Broken Arrow, her climbing was insane. Like both of you guys flew in that first section. So yeah, I'm super excited to see her kind of debut at this distance. Or not necessarily this distance, but debut kind of in a big international race like this.
Yeah, Claire's an incredible climber. That's probably her biggest strength on this course, is that there's a lot of climbing. Every time I've raced Claire, like I'm just like, all right, Claire's gonna run the uphill, and that does not mean that you also have to run the uphill. Like, let her do her thing. She's very good at climbing, which showed, I mean, in her Mount Marathon performance as well. So
totally cool. So next we've got Rosa Lara. I don't know how to say her surname. I'm sorry.
Probably Filio. Yeah.
Spanish runner. She is a physio and she runs for Compress Sport. She's been doing a lot of the Golden Trail Series races this year. So she started with Kobe Trail, then she did the Four Sisters Mountain Run. And I think she was top 10 at both of those races. She was top 10 at Zagama as well, coming 8th and 5th at Mont Blanc Marathon. So she's been climbing her way up in that ranking as well. And I think, that kind of racing is so hardcore. So for her to be pulling top 10s and that is amongst that kind of group of women is really exciting. And I think, yeah, she's definitely going to be a name to keep an eye on for either future years or even this year.
Yep. And she's currently ranked first in the Golden Trail World Series right now, actually. So she's crushing it this year. And that Mont Blanc Marathon race was such a weird race because they all kind of ran together the whole time. To finish fifth there, huge. Like the women that finished in front of her are no joke. So I'll be interested. She's probably a top 10 pick for me, like pretty much hands down at this point. Next up is Tabor Hemming. I'm super stoked to see how Tabor does here. Tabor is somebody who the first time I raced her was in a 50K, and I remember she hated it. A way too cool 50K back in 2022. And since then she did a ton of really good stuff in the short races, and then has like this year moved up pretty much kind of permanently, not permanently, but she's done a lot of 50K races in the last year to prepare for this OCC. She was recently third at the Broken Arrow Sky Race 23K. She also ran the VK there. I cannot remember which place she got, but it was in the top 10. She was third at Canyons 50K behind Danny Moreno and Jennifer Lichter, who are two of our best 50K runners in the US and also in the world. She was third at Kodiak, also behind Danny and I think Bailey Kowalchuk. She was first at Big Alta 28K this year and at the Desert Rats half marathon. So she's been racing quite a bit, but everything she's done has been like top notch. And I'm trying to think, her last like big international race probably would have been Sierras and All last year, which did not go very well, but Sierras and All the year before, she was top 10 in her debut. So Tabor's definitely somebody to look out for.
Totally. I mean, her performance at Broken Arrow was really quite astounding. And I think she's really put her head down after that and focused on getting prepared for this. So yeah, I'm super excited for her. I think she's definitely someone to keep an eye on, if not this year, in the future years to come, because she's just getting started, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Then we've also got Bailey Kowalchuk. Did I say her name? Okay. Nike athlete. And as we mentioned, she was second at Kodiak 50K last year, behind Danny Moreno. It looks like she's had a slightly more quiet year of racing, but from what I've seen, it looks like she's been doing some really good training blocks, which I think, we all get so caught up in racing. But yeah, there's so much value in having like really good training blocks. So it's cool to see her putting her head down and like really preparing for this race. Because I think, she's had some really standout performances in the past years. And I think there's every possibility that she can be in this top 5, top 10.
Yeah, for sure. Bailey was fifth at Sierras and All back in 2022. Definitely like a huge performance. But she's been very open about like having some struggles over the last like 2-3 years, just with her body, being kind to herself. And I think she's trying to come up from that. And she's recently changed coaches. She's now working with Stephanie Howe. And so I'm hoping that like new coach, but also working with a female coach, like just kind of helps turn her around a little bit. It'll be interesting. I'm pretty sure she's racing Sierras and All, and then coming back for OCC. So Bailey Kowalchuk, obviously somebody who's very fast if you can be fifth at Sierras and All.
Yep, absolutely. You don't come fifth at Sierras and All if you're not a really talented runner. So very excited.
Next up we have Therese LeBoeuf. She runs for Compressed Sport, but also for Team LeBoeuf. Her and her husband and their kids just have their own team that I absolutely love that. That's so cute. She was fourth at Zagama this year, third at Worlds last year, third at Chianti Trail, which is how I'm pretty sure she got into OCC this year, ninth at Mont Blanc Marathon. And she was also top 10 at both the earlier races at Japan and China, I believe. Therese has pretty much like not found herself outside of the top 10 in any of these elite races in the last 2 years. So I would be really surprised to find her outside of the top 10 this year. Could be ninth place. She could be second. She could be first. Like, this woman has been so consistent over the last year. It's crazy. I'm pretty sure this is her debut at OCC. But she's run Mont Blanc Marathon this year and last year and been in the top. She was top 5 last year, 9th this year. So she knows the trails, like the area pretty well. She'll have no problem on this course.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, we've got Anastina Erikila. Sorry if I said your surname wrong, but Essex runner. She was 10th at OCC last year and 7th this year at the European Champs that were held in Annecy. And then she went on to run Mont Blanc Marathon and came 8th. Those were pretty tight together. So to pull off an 8th place after those European Champs at Mont Blanc Marathon, I think is a pretty huge feat, especially because the conditions at the European Champs this year were awful. So it was a pretty taxing race. So yeah, super impressive run at Mont Blanc Marathon as well. Again, she knows this course. So yeah, I know she's a speedy runner, and I think this course also really suits people who can run. So yeah, very excited to see her come back here this year. I'm sure she's looking to improve on that 10th place. Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, if I'm remembering her face correctly, she's like the only person in the top 10 that was using poles. Yes, this is her. She was using poles last year. And when she passed me, I was like, I wish I was using poles. I'm so slow right now. So yeah, no, absolute crusher. I'm sure. I wonder if she's a skier, like has a background in skiing because she's Finnish. Because that would make sense using poles at OCC.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Most likely in like skating or the classic like cross country type skiing.
Yeah. Daniela Oimas, another kind of like very similar to Therese LeBoeuf, like just has been in the top 10 at all these major races over the last 2 years. She did a crazy triple last year, which was like World Champs, Mont Blanc Marathon, and Zagama, so wrong order, but did all 3 of those and did very well at all 3 of those. She was also 5th at OCC last year, 6th at World Champs, 7th at Zagama. I can't remember where she finished at Mont Blanc Marathon, but also in the top 10. We have a quote here. Is this from you? Did you find this, Toni?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just casually scrolling through everyone's Instagrams. I've been a big fan in the past week, but it was cool for her she posted about this, and it was just talking about, taking some time off, taking time off work and just really focusing on recovery and training, because I think she was feeling a bit tired and not super motivated, because I don't actually think she ran Mont Blanc Marathon this year.
No.
Yeah. So I think she pulled out maybe 2 weeks before just because she wasn't feeling good, wasn't feeling motivated. So it's cool to see athletes like her really focusing on recovery and putting in a big training block when things aren't feeling good and not just racing for the sake of it. So
yeah, because Daniela, she said she's taking time off work, but she's also a mom. So she's doing like all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard to train for these high level races if you're just like stretched too thin.
Yeah, totally. Next up, we've got Ali Mack, Hoka athlete, and I mean, adrenaline junkie, I'd maybe say.
Yes.
Ali she ran for the past 2 years. She was 6th in 2022 and 14th last year. Ali is one of those people who really likes to run hard, and she likes to run from the front. So both years she has gone out very hard. And like we were talking about, I think that pace is not actually that out of reach. It's just about, managing it and making sure you can sustain it. Both years, she hasn't seemed to kind of find that groove, so much to say, but she's got so much potential. And I think one day she is going to nail this race and it's going to blow all of our minds. So I think she's always a contender, always someone to watch. She was at the Innsbruck World Champs last year, and she ran the vertical. Did she win that one?
No, she had a bit of a rough day in Innsbruck, but she won vertical champs in Thailand in 2022.
Yes. Oh, 2020. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So Ali, I mean, she's also ran Broken Arrow this year. I think she's, again, not raced as much as she maybe usually does. But yeah, Ali's always one to watch. And I think she is a dangerous person to have running out ahead of you, because if things click for her on race day, you're not going to see her again.
Yeah, no, definitely. Ally Mack is I think she's also, she just seems like, I think it's good that she's racing less, definitely. She also seems just lighter and happier. Like the times that I've seen her this year, it just feels like last year it almost felt like she had a weight on her shoulder from that win at Thailand. Like there was a lot of pressure. And this year I haven't seen that in her as much. And so I'm excited. I'm hoping that she just goes into this and she's gonna go out hard again, but like depending on which alley you have, like she is definitely a contender for the win.
Totally. Definitely, definitely. And hopefully as well, she's figured out a good balance between like the base jumping and paragliding and the running. Because I think there is a way to manage that all, but it's about like periodizing them, I guess, throughout the year. Because I
Yes.
think she's not just a runner, she's all of those things. So yeah, I'm hoping she's figured out how to kind of live all of those lives
Yeah,
without them jeopardizing each other.
I love it. Then we have Sarah Alonso, Spanish runner from Spain. I am not 100% sure that Sarah is running this race. I hope she is, but it seems like maybe she's been struggling with a little bit of injury, but she's so funny because one post she posts, she's like, I'm definitely not doing OCC. I'm 100% out. And then the next post, she's like, okay, maybe I was being dramatic. I'm like, Sarah, what is happening? But Sarah's great. 2 years ago, she won Mont Blanc Marathon. So she is familiar with the terrain a bit. This would definitely be one of her longest races, I believe. She was hurt pretty much all of 2023 with a stress fracture in her pubic area. She was hoping to come back this year because she was third at Zagama that same year that she won Mont Blanc Marathon. She was really hoping to come back this year, knock it out of the park, win Zagama, got really bad pneumonia, I believe, like the week of, ended up in the hospital, which is super disappointing for her because as a Spanish runner, like that would have been a big deal to like go there and have a good day. So I hope that she runs OCC just so that she can like have a big day again. It's been a while. Like she did really well in the Japan race and the Four Sisters China race, but it'd just be cool to see Sarah like healthy, happy, and crushing races.
Totally. I am rooting for her so hard. Like I think she's had a couple really like tough blows and things that are just completely out of her control. Like the pneumonia before Zagama was wild, and like the results and the repercussions of that, man, must have been so scary. So yeah, I really hope that whatever she's dealing with now is not super serious and that she gets to that start line just healthy. Because I think a healthy Sarah is someone that is very dangerous.
Scary Sarah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Next we've got an ASICS teammate of Sarah. We've got Nua Gil Clapera, also a Spanish runner. She was the 2022 OCC winner, and I think in 2023 she was 9th last year. So she is no stranger to this race. She has run the course that they are running this year as well. So she won that year. So she knows this course, and I think it's one that clearly suits her. She ran this year, she's run Chianti and Mozart 40Ks, and she won both. The times for Chianti, every time I look at them, they just blow my mind. She ran 3:20 for a 46 kilometer, which in my mind is just wild.
That is so fast. That's like way too cool here in the US. Like it's very similar. Yeah.
It blows my mind. I think Robbie Simpson also ran that race, and he ran like a 250 something for 46 kilometers, which just blows my mind. Anyway.
Yeah.
But Nuria, I think, is a really talented athlete, and I'm really excited to see her come back here this year. I think last year she had been dealing with some injury, and I'm not entirely sure about this. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she had been dealing with some injuries last year. So I think the fact that she was at OCC was a big deal. But she seems to be really healthy this year. She seems to be running really strong. So I'm excited to see her be back on this course and to see her, back in form.
Love it. And then we have Caitlin Fielder, an absolute regular on the European circuit here. Caitlin was 4th here last year, but she has run this race a ton of times. In 2021, she was 3rd. She moved up to CCC in 2022, did not have a day that I think she was hoping to have, and then moved back down to OCC last year to finish 4th. She was recently 10th at Zagama. She's been 2nd at Zagama before, or 3rd? 2nd or 3rd the year before.
Second.
Yeah, 2nd. And then was 6th at Mont Blanc Marathon just a couple months ago. So she seems to be in pretty good shape. She's pretty much always there, ready to be in the top 5. So Caitlin Fielder, for sure, somebody to look at putting in your Freetrail Fantasy.
Definitely. Next up, we've got Meo Yao, Salomon athlete from China. She was the 3rd place champion at OCC last year, and she has won CCC back in 2019. So she is no stranger to this route. She's no stranger to these distances. She was 3rd at Mont Blanc Marathon this year, which was an insanely competitive year. And she was 4th at Sierra Zanel last year. So she is really like one of those athletes that is all-rounding, like an all-round athlete. She can really run anything that you throw at her. She's also an insanely fast marathon runner. So I wouldn't want to be against her in a flat race, and I clearly wouldn't want to be against her in a mountainous race too, because she's proved she can do that too. So yeah, Meo Yao is definitely one to watch out for, and I guess I just hope that she gets to the start line, because it looks like she was struggling with her visa. She was in Sierra Zanel this weekend, and I don't know if her visa's come through for that. So hopefully she gets it in time to come and run at OCC this year. I think it would be a big shame to not have her at the start line, because she is definitely someone that is a potential podium.
Yeah, I believe she's run 2:29 in the marathon, like recently, which is so fast.
So I think she was actually trying to qualify for the Olympics, if I'm not mistaken, and then she couldn't qualify because she got injured right before the trials. Which is unfortunate, but
because I think the Olympic standard this year was like 2:27 or 2:26 for the women, so not that far off if she'd run 2:29 the winter before. But that's a bummer that she got hurt. She seems to struggle with like a knee injury, maybe, because her knee is always KT taped.
Yeah, always taped up. Always taped up.
Oh man.
But, yeah, just hope she gets to that start line.
Do you want to talk about our next athlete?
Yes, let me. So Asmussen, she is a Terex athlete and teammate. She is the amazing woman who ran the fastest debut Western States and 100 miles ever. And I think she was like the 7th or 8th fastest time in the history of the race as well. So wild. As your debut 100 mile, that's just wild. She's also the winner of CCC last year. And so she was 5th at Western States this year. And recently she has been mostly focusing on like the longer distances. But I think, playing it smart this year and coming to run a 50K instead of, jumping into another 100K or 100 miles is smart for longevity. And also because, she wasn't really sure how she would recover from Western States. So I think, coming to run a 50K now is probably the smartest thing to do. She's also insanely fast, another really fast one like Meo Yao, 2:38 in the marathon, and I'm pretty sure she ran that when like she was in the middle of trail running season. Like
she was like a month out from CCC or something, like deep in training.
It was like, oh, I'm just gonna run a marathon and run like this insane time that most people dream about. So she's a weapon on the flats. I did some strides with her once when we were in Auburn in March, and it was like, okay, this rep, we're going to go all out. And I was just like, okay, bye. My legs can't keep up with you. So she's really fast. But I know she's also had a little bit of a hiccup recently. She broke her elbow in a climbing accident.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure what her running situation has been for the past couple of weeks. I'm sure that, she had to take some time off after Western States, obviously, and then she broke her elbow, so it's probably a little bit more time off, and then she had to have surgery. So I'm not entirely sure which Ingvild's going to be showing up at OCC, whether she runs at all. But if she does run, and if she's, had a good maybe 3 or 4 weeks of, solid, maybe slightly more high intensity training, I think she will be very dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, she's got years of background, and the thing about training for 100Ks and 100 milers is she's also got years of miles in her legs.
Yeah.
So really,
Yeah.
she just needs some intensity to get back up, and like she'll be good.
Yeah, totally.
Our next athlete is Judith Weider from Switzerland. She runs for Hoka. This is her OCC debut, but as of this year, she's already won Mont Blanc Marathon. She was the vice champion at the up-down at Europeans. She was 6th, I believe, in the vertical at Europeans. She was 2nd at the Short Trail Worlds last year in Innsbruck, and she was 2nd overall in the Golden Trail World Series last year behind Sophia Lockley. And it came down to a tie. They literally had to do a tiebreaker for the two of them because I believe she won or she beat Sophia at both of the races at the final last year. Judith is, Danny and I talked about this in the Sears and All preview. I'll say it again, like Judith is GOAT status.
Yeah.
She's no joke. She's not somebody to be counted out. The only person on this list that has beaten her this year or within the last 18 months is Clementine Joffrey, who we will talk about here in a second. So like she is definitely a contender for the win, and she is running Sears and All 3 weeks before this. So it just kind of depends, I guess, on how much Sears and All is going to take out of the athletes this year, which I think is going to be maybe more than usual. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm a little bit sad that I'm not running OCC this year, purely because I've never really raced Judith, and I'd love to race her. I think she's one of those people that when she shows up at a start line, everyone's level just like goes up a notch. Like you just have to show up when she's there. So yeah, I agree with you. GOAT status. She's amazing.
Yes.
Next up, we've got comeback kid, and someone I'm really rooting for to have a good race this year is Dani Moreno, Sub-Hub OG. She is teammate of mine, and she was 3rd at OCC in 2022. So she knows this course. Yeah, I think she is got all the potential to run a really good race here.
And she ran a brilliant race to get 3rd too.
Yeah, like a super tactical, really smart race. Like if you ever want to race like smart, go and speak to Dani, because I think she ran like a pretty conservative first half, and in the second half she just like threw down the hammer and overtook everyone.
Yeah.
So
and that's like her MO. She's very good at that.
Like super smart runner. So I'm super excited for her to come back this year, because last year unfortunately she got sick and had to pull out, I think, and Triant. So yeah, I'm really rooting for her to have a good year this year. Other very notable results, she was 1st at Kodiak 50K last year. I think that was kind of her redemption race after OCC not going kind of how she wanted it to. She also crushed Mammoth, which was another really competitive race, and that was
she finished 2nd to Judith, like close second.
Yeah, like second. And then she was also 1st this year at Canyons 50K. So she's got some really amazing results. I know she's struggled a little bit with her iron, which she's been very open about on social media. So now that that's sorted out, I'm really excited for her second half of the season to see how that plays out, because I think an ironed up Dani is very dangerous.
Definitely. And our final contender for today, at least, is Clementine Joffrey, who you guys have heard her on the pod before. If you've been listening to the pod, she is an incredible athlete. She won the Short Trail World Championships last year. For me, kind of came out of nowhere. I'm sure for French athletes, did not come out of nowhere. She runs for Kip Run. She was also, this year was like the year we were like, holy shit, Clementine's gonna like come into the season, knock it out of the park. It's gonna be scary. But then for a little bit, we were like, is she going to run this year? Because there were a couple races that she was supposed to run that she was not able to show up to due to an injury. But then she knocked European championships out of the park. So she ran Chianti to qualify for OCC, did not get 3rd. That was our top 3. That was the race where I was like, oh no, like maybe this isn't Clementine's year. And then was not able to start French national championships due to a lingering inflammation from that race. But since she was world champion last year, she didn't actually have to go to French championships to make it onto the European championship team, I would imagine. Got a resume spot. But huge race at European champs. Did not start Mont Blanc Marathon because of a very similar injury, which is good. She listens to her body, but which Clementine are we going to get? Are we going to get world champs, European champs Clementine, or is she still hurt?
I'm obviously I'm hoping for the former.
Yeah.
If she shows up like she showed up at world champs or even the European champs, man, like that European champs, watching her run with Blondine up front, man, like they were so strong, and the conditions, like I mentioned earlier, were really, really tough. Like it was so muddy. So yeah, I think she's played it smart this year and not over raced when her body was telling her to stop. And I hope that pays off for her on race day at OCC. Like, yeah, I think she's a definite French fan favorite.
Yes, because I was racing Worlds. You were there spectating in some sense. I heard that the move that she put on Judith to like solidify her win was insane.
I wish I had seen it because she did it on the last descent. No,
I think right before the last descent, just like put a huge move on, and then like it was just over.
And to put a move on Judith just like on a descent, because Judith is an insane descender. Like she's really dangerous on a descent. Yeah. So for Clementine to do that there and to put in
hold
the gap,
it,
it's wild. This race is so good to spectate. Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm gonna have to like. I'm still trying to decide like how much I'm gonna be able to pay attention to it, because we do have to race the next day, and I feel like it's gonna be like emotionally taxing to watch this race.
Probably. We're gonna have to just. I don't think I'm gonna be able to. I've got too many like friends running this race for me to be any sort of impartial.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just gonna have to look at the results afterwards and be like, okay, that is what happened. Did not watch the live stream, because maybe I'll watch it like after my race or something, go back and replay it. But yeah, it just feels like it's going to be wild on both the men's and the women's side. So.
Hey fam, Danny here. Just a reminder that this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Never Second. Never Second is an easy to understand modular system that allows you to create the exact amount of carbs that you want for your activity. Their products are meant to mix and match, which personally I love taking advantage of. So you can ensure that you're getting 30, 60, 90, or even 120 grams of carbs per hour. I have been using Never Second during my build-up for OCC, and it is all I will be using on race day. Like I mentioned, it's meant to be mixed and matched, and I've been taking full advantage of that. I love the C30 Fruit Punch Gel along with the Berry Plus, so that means it has caffeine. I also alternate this with a mix of 3 scoops of the C30 Citrus, which is their powder, or the C90 Orange. So as you can see, I love mixing all of the flavors. I love that the sodium is very easy to understand. For the C30, 1 scoop, it's 200 milligrams of sodium. The C90, it's also 200 milligrams of sodium. So if you're interested in trying Never Second, I'm a huge fan. Like I said, it's all I will be using for OCC. Be sure to use SubHub25 for 25% off of all of your orders. Again, that's SubHub25 for a 25% discount off all your orders at neversecond.com. That's NEVER2.com. Now back to the episode.
Totally.
Should we go through a couple of kind of like predictions in terms of, we'll do podium picks at the end, but just a couple of other people to talk about. Let's do rising stars first. I'm going to let you take this one.
Cool. So my rising star I picked as, there were so many options, but I picked Claire Rhodes. I just think that her performance at Mount Marathon and Broken Arrow were really amazing. And I think, being her debut, I think there's a lot of potential there. And maybe this won't be the year for her, but I definitely think that she is talented enough to be someone that we notice in the future, if not this year already. So yeah, Claire Rhodes.
Yes, I love that one. I think I'm going to agree with you on Claire Rhodes. I'm also going to pick probably Tabor Hemming. Mostly just because this is like her OCC debut. She's not necessarily a rising star in the sense that she is like obviously already a very good athlete. But she's somebody that I see like kind of breaking up this race a bit and surprising people if she has the day that I think she hopes to have.
Yeah, definitely. I would say out of all the people who are running OCC for the first time, she will be the highest ranked of them all, in my guess. Oh, well, actually, jokes. Maybe Judith. Judith and her have like the best kind of first OCC in my, like, that's what I would think.
Yeah. Most improved or comeback runner. We have to go with, we can do a couple here, but we have to go with Dani Moreno. SubHub co-host, absolutely crushed this race in 22, was hoping to come back and have a crusher day last year, and life just happens sometimes and you get sick and that's a bummer, but Dani is so capable of winning this race if she has an amazing day. I mean, even that's the thing at this race is that top 10 is still an amazing race. Top 15 is still an amazing race. But like Dani has the capability to win this race. And so I'm excited for her comeback.
Yeah, totally. She was my comeback pick too. Like there was no one else. That question came and I was like, there's no one else I'd really think of. I did also put Louise Penot. She was there last year as well. She came 8th. And I know she's also had an injury and she had a stress fracture in her femur at the beginning of the year, but she's running again. And I know that this is a race that she really wants to do well at. So I'm hoping that she has maybe not a comeback in the sense of OCC, but a comeback from the year that she's had.
Yeah. Most surprising top 10 selection this year.
Cool. This was hard, but I actually picked Sunmaya Buddha. I think she's an incredibly talented athlete. I think, you know, she's had really amazing results in the 100K. She ran second at Transvolcania this year. It was an insane year. Ruth Croft ran and broke the record, and Sunmaya wasn't far off behind that. So she has had some really impressive results. But this is also not her distance. So while I think she's an incredible athlete, I'm not sure how that translates into this 50K distance. So yeah, I would be very happily surprised to see her in the top 10.
Well, yeah, because she was supposed to run this last year, but it seems like she didn't end up running it. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. She did run Four Sisters China and was just outside of the top 10. But as we know, those Golden Trail races are super stacked, just like this. So if she can have like a similar day, squeak into the top 10, that'd be pretty cool because she's been second at CCC, right? Or has she won?
Yeah, she was second at CCC.
Yeah, cool. So she's been here before. She knows the terrain. She's just got to put together the day.
Yep.
Podium picks. Oh, what were you gonna say?
No, nothing. Podium picks.
Who wants to go first? Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Okay. When you've done podium, have you done like flower ceremony podium, or have you done just top 3?
Top 3. Usually starting with 3rd and going up to 1st.
Oh no, you've made it even harder for me now. Okay. Oh, this is so hard. Okay. I'm gonna say in 3rd place, Clementine.
Okay.
I'm gonna say in 2nd place, I'm gonna say Judith, and then I'm gonna say Dani in 1st. Am I allowed to put like a? I feel like
put an asterisk.
All 3 of those really, in my mind, could be interchangeable. Yeah. I think that would be my top 3 picks. In which order, very much who knows. But yeah, for me, I think Judith running Sierre-Zinal it's just always risky to run a race before something like OCC, especially one like you mentioned where Sierre-Zinal is going to be so competitive this year. So who knows? Maybe she recovers super well. Maybe she doesn't go as hard as she normally does. I don't know. But yeah, that's probably why I'd say Danny first and you second.
Yep. And I'm not going to make this that exciting because those are also my top three, but I'm going to go Judith in third, Danny in second, Clementine in first.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, look,
but also interchangeable.
Anyway.
And we just read you guys like 10 other women that could just also finish in the top three.
Man, there are so many people who could take this out. Like, it was virtually impossible for me to pick this podium.
Yeah. And the thing about this race is that we probably won't know until that final climb, until La Flégère, if I have to guess.
Yeah.
And even then, we may still not know, based on the way that a lot of these women ran Mont Blanc Marathon just a couple months ago. They were basically in a group until the last descent. So it could be a similar day. I see a lot less people letting that happen in this race, but it could happen still.
Yeah. I think no matter what happens, the top 5, even up to the top 10 maybe, are all going to be really close together this year. I think historically there's been, a couple minutes here and there. And I think this year that's not going to happen. If it's,
I think we're going to see a lot of sprints over that terrible metal bridge.
Oh yeah. The fear in the eyes for that last 1.5 Ks or whatever it is. But I think that's the thing that I'm most confident about in this race, is that it's going to be so intense, and no matter what happens, the top 10 is going to be a really tight race.
Yeah. So make sure you guys tune in. UTMB will have their normal live stream up on, I think it's just UTMB Live. You can Google, and it's pretty easy to navigate. But obviously, huge special shout out to Danny Moreno. We are super excited to see how it goes for you, and we will be cheering you on. I know you're not going to listen to this, but we're giving out vibes only.
She'll listen to it afterwards, maybe.
Yes, probably. She listens to all of, I'm like, oh, I didn't listen to this episode that we recorded. She's like, I've listened to all of them. I was like, all right, good for you, Danny. I'm like, once it's out, it's done.
Forget about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This was perfect. Toni McCann, 2023 OCC champion, CCC newbie, both of us this year. And I'm excited to see you out in Cham.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you here, and thanks for having me on the pod. It's always cool to chat with you, and hopefully next time Danny's here too.
Yes. Make sure you guys subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, give us a follow on Instagram. If you haven't already, make sure you're also subscribed to the SubHub headlines. That is where we will have all of our race results. We've got some really good articles in there recently. And this has been the SubHub podcast, brought to you by Freetrail.